They're passionate, they are idealistic, they want to go out and change the world.
Provides the opportunity to both take care of the elderly as well as create an industry that is profitable while doing so.
Frankly, I don't see it as a professional choice so much as a life choice.
A sort of security financially in case of the risk.
Independence and the freedom to move from one domain to the other.
We have to be sensitive to their needs.
Nobody wants to be a beneficiary. We banned the use of the term beneficiaries.
My name is Kabir Chadha. I have a bachelor's in economics from Stanford University, and before that I went to school in Hong Kong. I am the founder and CEO of Epoch Elder Care. It is not easy to find a good elder care specialist. We look for exceptional people, and we have a 4-step process. We think about HR and talent in 4 steps. We source, we recruit, we train, and we retain. Sourcing, basically, we have 2 or 3 sources. One is job portals end up being a big chunk of our applicants. They're probably comprised of the largest volume of applications that we get, but in terms of quality, we really have to do a lot of sifting to find good people. Then we also work with a couple of universities, for example, Amity University, that have strong master's degree programs, and we recruit on campus. And then we recruit, and our recruiting process is very stringent, very creative. We have 4 steps. First is we screen the resumes to see if you have the relevant work experience. Are you a psychology major, occupational therapy major, physiotherapy major, social worker, or do you have an MBA and have nothing to do with wanting to take care of the elderly? That's very important. Then we screen the person on the phone for looking for 2 things. One is their interest in the job, and 2 is their communication skills. Interest is very important because I think one of the difficult parts of sourcing or recruiting in India is a lot of young people apply to hundreds of jobs. And so oftentimes they may be a great person, but they have no clue what job they've applied for. And many people we call up, our applicants, have no clue who we are. So interest is important. And second thing we look for is communication. You have to have exceptional English skills. Because not only are you going to be working with the elderly person, but you're also working with their high income son or daughter who is your customer, who's paying you to take care of them. Then once we've shortlisted them, we call them in for an interview round. We do 3 interviews. We do a hard skills interview that checks for their academic background, work experience, and relevant skills. We do a soft skills interview that looks at the kind of looks for the soft skills that I had mentioned: patience, creativity, empathy, and persistence. And then, if we like that person, we call them in for another round, which is a simulation interview, where I actually put them in front of an elderly person to see what happens and to see if they're actually able to engage and connect with that elderly person. And we ask the elderly person at the end of the hour or half hour, what she thought of that elder care specialist candidate. So an elder care specialist usually has at least a master's degree, MPhil or more, in psychology, occupational therapy, and adjacent fields. We also look for specific soft skills in our elder care specialists, because working with the elderly is absolutely not an easy job, and it's not a job for a normal person. So we actually we've boiled it down to 4 things. We look for patience, creativity, empathy, and persistence. Patience, because when you're working with the elderly, time slows down. Creativity, because usually the person that you're working with, cannot hear, cannot see, cannot move, cannot think like a normal person, and you have to creatively think about ways to engage them. Empathy, because oftentimes elderly people have to deal with a lot of loss. And then finally, persistence is very important, because oftentimes it can take more than just 1 meeting, maybe 5 meetings or 10 meetings, sometimes even a month, to build a bond and a relationship with an elderly person. Again, a very, very relevant question to our field. In fact, you could go 10 steps further and say, retention and burnout is very common, and an important thing to consider, especially when you're looking at caregivers, especially in an organization like ours, because not only do we deal with old age, but we also deal with things like dementia, Alzheimer's, depression, aggression. These are very difficult things to deal with on a day-to-day basis as an employee. Employee retention is very important for us to think about. We do it with two basic things. One is we ensure that the community engagement within our organization is very strong. Employee engagement is everything. You need to make each and every single person who is part of your team feel like they really are part of a family, and so we call it the Epoch family. In fact, so we try to have monthly events and we spend as much time as we can together as a group. One thing that works really well is we've implemented a very professional employee review system and a performance review system. So on every other month, every employee has a feedback session with his or her line manager, and they get a grasp on what is it that I'm doing well and what are the 2 or 3 things that I need to work on. Again, a couple of things. Firstly, it's not easy, but one is we ask for an upfront promise of, we look for people who want to be in the job for at least a year or more. I tell candidates upfront that, look, if you are looking for a 6-month gig, then you should just forget about it and don't even bother applying. 2 is that we need to make it attractive for them to stay, right? And so we have demarcated a very clear career path that gives them both more responsibility and more money in terms of salary as they progress in the job. So it's important to be very transparent in what the career path is, so that an elder care specialist who's young yet excited is joining today can know that, okay, not only do I have to be good at my job now, but I need to have a vision of what's coming up a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, so that I can get there and I know how to get there and I can stick around. That's very important.